There has been a lot of talk about whether or not Lee is worth pulling without much explanation why, so this video is just here to explain. Lee Hyperreal is the mainstay fire attacker for the foreseeable future, and there has been a lot of talk about skipping this character despite all this. Why? Well, for lack of better words, he just fucking sucks. He is by far the worst Gen 2 unit to exist, mainly due to a lot of issues with his kit. I've seen a lot of people saying it's because the lack of time stop on both ults, which isn't really the case. His main downfall is the lack of being able to do multiple rotations. You see, every Gen 2 attacker can do their ult, and even more, multiple times within the span of their whole rotation. Lee is unable to do so, and this is mainly stemming from the fact that his hyperdimensional space is tied to a cooldown. With this, there is not really much a person can do but to either basic attack for 8 seconds or switch out to a different character entirely. And if you've been playing the game long enough, you should know the first option isn't even worth it at all, unless you don't have other characters built. With this in mind, his damage file is really short compared to every other Gen 2 attacker for this reason alone. Even if his rotation does roughly equal amount of damage compared to the others, he simply just gets outclassed due to the fact he can't do it over and over. It doesn't even matter at this point if he has time stop or not on his first ult. Now that's out the way, I guess the next question would be, why Watanabe? Simply put, he does everything Hyperreal can't. His rotation isn't tied to a skill that can go on cooldown, he performs multiple rotations quickly before swapping out. Basically, he's everything Hyperreal should have been, but more since he also fulfills the role of a tank. And he also has a switch CD reduction passive at double +3. If you're wondering, well, why don't I skip Watanabe instead? That isn't really an option. He can easily outperform the old SS Fire team with base S and signature weapon alone, so yeah, he's very strong. After all this being said, should you be skipping Hyperreal?
Fuck no.
Despite him being the worst Gen 2 attacker, he is the only Gen 2 fire attacker, and there are no other replacement, at least in the foreseeable future anyway. And despite the fact that Lee is massively weaker than Watanabe in every way, he isn't para-crept at all, mainly due to the fact that they work on the same team, and Hyperreal is much better than Nanamech, so you can't really put Nanamech and Watanabe on the same team. There's also the fact that every other Gen 1 fire attacker doesn't really work as a suitable replacement, since all of them are forced to do the role of being a Da Vinci holder. That being said, it's your choice at the end of the day, so do whatever you want, I don't really care.